Sally expected to strengthen tonight and Monday. Storm surge, hurricane force winds, and heavy rainfall expected along portions of the northern Gulf Coast starting on Monday. Good afternoon, everybody. I am your Tracking the Tropics host, Daisy Ruth, and I am joined here by the expert, Storm Team 8, Max Defender 8 meteorologist Amanda Hawley. Amanda, we have a lot going on in the Atlantic right now, and I just want to get straight to you to explain just what is going on out there.
Well, of course, all eyes on Tropical Storm Sally right now. We do have several other storms and areas of interest that we are watching, but Sally's close to home and the impacts are far-reaching, really. We've been seeing impacts here in the Tampa Bay region all morning long, and we're going to start to see those impacts along the central Gulf Coast within the next 24 hours. So right now, this is the 11 a.m. advisory. Maximum winds are up to 60 miles per hour. Movement here west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. So I know we have a lot of people probably joining us from the Tampa Bay area. This is moving away from the Tampa Bay area. However, there's a lot of convection, as you can see here on the satellite presentation, on the western side. So we're getting the rain from Sally right now. It's been ongoing in Sarasota and Manatee County all morning, but it's continuing along the coast now. It's spreading north, and we're starting to see some outer bands trying to wrap around the system. That's indicative of Sally trying to get organized, really, but all of the shower and thunderstorm activity at this point still trying to organize a wrap around the center. It is expected to organize, especially as it gets farther away from Florida and closer toward the northern Gulf Coast. Earlier, the National Hurricane Center had it strengthening into a Category 2 storm before landfall. The latest track does not have that occurring, but I would say that it's definitely still a possibility, a low possibility here. But this is expected to, the center is expected to approach land here sometime late tomorrow night, but I do think that those impacts are going to be starting early tomorrow morning. So if you have friends, family, if you live in the central Gulf Coast, you'll want to rush your preparations to completion and have them done by today before those outer rain bands really start to make their way onshore. But after it starts to move onshore, the forward motion is going to weaken, as of course well as those wind speeds, those maximum winds. But we're going to be dealing with the onshore flow on the western side of the storm. We're going to be dealing with the flooding rains continuing for several days as the storm really slows down and then starts to recurve, not until Thursday, but it's still going to be in this general location. So we're still going to be watching for the possibility for that flash flooding as well, all the way through pretty much the entire work week here. The forecast models, there's still a big spread in where exactly the center of the storm may come ashore. So I would suggest if you live along the northern Gulf Coast here, prepare for potentially at least tropical storm force winds, if not those hurricane force winds. We have tropical storm watches and warnings. We have hurricane watches and warnings in effect, and that's of course because it is expected to strengthen. At this point, the wind field of Sally is not very large. The tropical storm force winds only extend out about 90 miles from the center, and that green color there, those are the 60 mile per hour winds, the severe winds that we say. But as the storm starts to strengthen, that wind field is going to expand a little bit, so more areas will be impacted along the Gulf Coast with the wind. Again, on the western side of the storm, we're going to be talking about, or excuse me, the eastern side of the storm, we're going to be talking about those winds coming onshore. We have storm surge warnings in effect. Some areas near New Orleans and farther south, they are calling for 7 to maybe 11 feet of storm surge here. So we'll be watching for the threat for that. And again, also the threat for flash flooding in terms of the freshwater flooding. Sally, again, there's the look at the latest storm surge model projections here. You can see the colors. The orange shade is anywhere between 6 and 9 feet. And they have lowered that projection a little bit because there were some larger spots of red in this area earlier, but they have brought those predictions down just a little bit. There's also flood watches in effect pretty much from central New Orleans, or excuse me, central Louisiana, all the way down through the Florida Peninsula. And that's because we've been seeing the rain, especially here in the Tampa Bay area. That light green area, that's a coastal flood watch. And that's again because those winds are coming onshore, kind of pushing the water closer up towards the shore. So that means you're going to see some higher than normal tides over the next several days. Rainfall potential, it does look like many areas could see between 10 and 15 inches of rain. That's kind of this pink shaded area here. I do think that there are several spots that will see that, and maybe a few localized amounts, localized areas that could see even higher than that. So we'll be watching. That's why that flash flood or the flood watch is in effect. The Tampa Bay area, again, we are seeing the rain. We've been seeing the rain. There's the Max Defender 8 radar for you. The steady light to moderate rain continues in our coastal spots. And then I've been watching this band right here setting up through Polk County all the way up through Lakeland. There's some pockets of very heavy rain in this. It doesn't look like anything is rotating at this point, but we are kind of in that section of the storm to where we could see a very brief spin up of a tornado. That's going to be another threat for the Florida Panhandle, really, as we go into the next couple of days as the storm approaches the coast and kind of stalls out there. But at this point, this band is a little bit stronger in terms of the amount of rain that we'll see, but the strongest wind gusts have been along the coast here in the Tampa Bay area. Again, our conditions beginning to improve late tonight as that storm really pulls away from the peninsula. We're also tracking Paulette and Renee. Paulette expected to affect Bermuda as potentially a Category 2 storm, but those two storms no threat to the United States. A couple more tropical waves out there off the coast of Africa. This particular one just west of the Cape Verde Islands has a high chance of developing, but you can see the direction that it's going farther to the north, which is good news for us. That one will likely not impact us here in the United States. And then this yellow shaded area, I know the banner covers it, but it says it's a 20% chance of developing over the next 5 days. That's because that wave hasn't even emerged off the coast of Africa yet. We will be watching that one because it will be emerging a little farther to the south of the Cape Verde Islands. Long ways out if we were to see anything from that. Not saying that we will, but it's just one we're watching. And then also in the Gulf of Mexico to the west of Sally, we are tracking another tropical wave. This one still has a 20% chance of developing over the next 5 days, but conditions are going to gradually decrease as it gets closer to land there. So not going to be worried about that one here in the United States either. All eyes on Tropical Storm Sally, again expected to strengthen into a hurricane. Models at this point in the afternoon continue to keep it a Category 1 storm, which is good news. But again, as I said earlier, there were some models that were bringing it ashore as a Category 2 storm. That's not out of the question just yet. But the latest maximum winds here at 60 miles per hour. We're going to continue to track this storm. We're going to have tracking the tropics as we go through the next couple of days because this storm slowly pulling away from the peninsula. But Daisy, it is going to head toward the central Gulf Coast here over the next 24 hours. And those impacts, those outer rain bands, the northern rain bands that are going to be wrapping around the center of the storm, they're going to start to approach the Gulf Coast as early as tomorrow morning.
So Amanda, you have answered all of basically my questions that I had regarding everything else out there in the Atlantic. But one final question, what would you tell folks to do moving forward? We know we are in peak hurricane season at this point, excuse me, even though Tampa isn't in the line of fire, for lack of a better term. But what should people in Tampa be doing right now?
Right now, it's kind of a wet, soggy day out there, unfortunately. It's one of those days in Tampa where it's kind of nice to just do some work around the house, inside the house, because it's kind of a washout of a day, unfortunately. And that's for our coastal counties. Definitely not a beach day. Farther inland, it's not raining. There's not a blanket of rain occurring at this point. But tropics-wise, you know, as we head through the rest of September and into October, Florida is prone to not only hurricane strikes, but, you know, major hurricane landfalls. So we're not done with this just yet. Of course, Sally formed from a tropical wave that was over the Bahamas not that long ago. The middle of last week we were watching it. It did get organized a little faster than we originally were thinking, but it didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. I've heard that term quite a bit, but you know, this is why we say you have to be ready to go at any time. So make sure you have that hurricane plan ready to go. You want to make sure you have your documents, your important documents. You want to have fuel in your car pretty much at all times, have some extra cash. Of course, make sure you have enough water for you and every person in your house, including your pets, for 3 days, because the first 72 hours are on you. If you lose power or don't have any connections, any way to contact anyone, the first 72 hours you'll want to be able to provide food and water for yourself and your family, as well as your pets. But again, that's all part of the hurricane planning process. For us in the Tampa Bay area, you'll just want to have it ready to go if the time comes this season. For the folks along the central Gulf Coast, you guys should be completing your hurricane plans today. They should be in place, and you know, if you were planning to put shutters up, those should be going up today. I would not wait until tomorrow to put anything like that up. But you know, your evacuation plans, those should all be thought through and ready to be put in place in case something does develop quicker than expected, kind of like Sally here.
Max Defender 8 and tracking the tropics meteorologist Amanda Hawley. We really appreciate it. Always very thorough and always has a great forecast, so we really appreciate you. But Folks, we will be back here on Tracking the Tropics throughout the week whenever this storm makes landfall and any further developments. So for meteorologist Amanda Hawley, I'm Daisy Ruth. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you for watching Tracking the